Okay, so Father's Day is coming up. I love my dad. He did so many things for me. He taught me how to have a can-do attitude, and my mom supported that. He taught me how to work hard, and my mom enforced that. Um, yes or no?
Yes,
And he taught me that we should always try and love and forgive.
that's right.
Yeah, I remember that time we got in that fisticuffs with the neighbor kid, or I did, or we both did. Who started? I don't remember. But he's like, the guy came over and said, "I'm sorry. You should forgive." You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, "Wah, wah, wah." But he taught me a valuable lesson. You got to forgive, and especially if somebody comes over and says, "Hey, I'm sorry." That takes a real man or a real woman to stand up and say, "I made a mistake," and to own up to the mistake. So my dad taught me those things, the hard work, the can do, and he also taught me a great lesson when he was a corporate executive for Abitibi Price. They took over, I think, 1,600 employees or something like that. Something like that. And then, so his idea and philosophy was no employee should suffer a bad experience from their employer. And because he was so generous and created a generous attitude and 401ks and retirements and things like that for the employees, they didn't want to join the union because they were so happy with that. So with that, you want to add a little something to that?
Mart was just a wonderful person. He was practically perfect.
Just like his son. Just kidding. Uh, now you weren't here. Still trying to live up to that. So, but why don't you tell me a little bit about your dad, Vincent Lincoln Anderson? He's half Swedish, right? You were full blood
No,
Swedish.
he was full blood Swedish. And his parents came over from Sweden to the United States and settled in Chicago. And he was just a wonderful person. Super.
So tell me about how did he sign up, go through basic training, and come out a captain in World War II?
Well, that was because he was an expert in telephones. And so he said, I got to have at least this much money to support my family, or I can't go in. And he was just about at the cutoff point for age.
And he volunteered, enlisted, right?
Yes, and so they said, fine, we'll make you a captain. And that was enough for us to live on. We had to sell the car. But other than that, that was enough for us my mother and I, to live on. And he served 3.5 years in Europe and went through some terrible, terrible times. And 1944 was the worst winter they'd ever had, 44, 45. And it was really cold. And I don't know, he came back home and everything was just wonderful. I mean, he was the best dad one could ever have.
Uh, and then one thing that always interested me that is he was the breadwinner at the house, but grandma also was a teacher before the teachers union, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And when did your mom, my grandmother, get her degree from college?
1930.
1930. Did a lot of women graduate from college back in 1930?
No.
It was almost kind of frowned upon maybe then.
Well, you were supposed to get married and have children.
But she decided to wait for the right one.
Yes.
There you go. So she didn't get her MRS degree.
No, she went to college and then she taught for several years till she met my father. And
How did they meet?
at a dance, back in the day, there used to be dance halls that would have various big name bands come in. And it was a little town she taught in. And she met my father, and one thing led to another, and 2 years later they were married.
That's really cute. And one thing that impressed me too is that he had a lot of crazy hours. Is that correct?
Well, by the time he got back from the war, he was 24/7 because he was a district construction superintendent. And if anything went wrong with a telephone, he was the first one they called, and then he dispatched the crews because he was in charge of the lower third of Illinois.
Wow. So one thing that impressed me is like when you had when I went through my divorce, and it's, you hear a lot of things, and I asked her a lot of questions, and I was like, did how did you guys handle birthdays or Christmas or whatever, and if he wasn't there? And you told me
We just waited till he was there, and we had a late birthday. We had late Christmas one year because there was a huge ice storm in Chicago, and so they had to take everybody up there.
yeah. Well, and what did that teach you, or what did you teach me at that time when I was kind of all down about stuff?
Well, you just have to make do with whatever happens.
And you stand as a family unit, and you stand behind each other.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what makes it successful for both the male, the female, and the kids, huh?
That's right.
Well, I think that's a good tribute to Father's Day there. And I thank God for my dad. She thanks God for her dad. And if there was ever a situation with your father, or you didn't know your father, or something like that, all I can say is God is love, and He cares about you, and I guess that's why they call Him God the Father. Wouldn't you say that?
Yes, He is our Father.
Yeah, and so it makes those times where we don't have a dad. Your dad passed away early.
Yes, I was 14.
And so you look to the love of God the Father during those times, many times, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's what I would encourage. Even if there's something there's always God the Father. He loves you very much, and He loves us. So with that, happy Father's Day.